Welcome to a mythology matter where ancient narratives unfold to reveal a profound connection between history, mythology, and theology. In the silent intersection of forbidden science and ancient ritual, Valerius found a loophole in the laws of nature. Most fears the end. He saw it as a design flaw by tethering his soul to star heart. It transitioned from a man of flesh to a monument of bone. The rich, he is not a king of the dead, but a curator of the lost, defying the grave to ensure that knowledge outlives the heartbeat. He is a bubble that turned to glass in an ocean of entropy. Thank you so much for reading. I appreciate you joining me in exploring the colored, fascinating worlds Valerius. Your time and interest mean everything. Chapter 1. The weight of silken dust. The candlelight did not flicker. There was no breeze in the room to disturb it. Archmage Valerius, now simply Valerius, to the few who still dared whisper in his name in the dusty corner of the imperial library, stared at the discarded remain of his own hand. It was cartography of ivory. Bone stretched over parchment, thin skin, grey as an afternoon fog. He felt no cold, though the stone walls of his laboratory were silk with a tomb like a forest. He felt no hunger, though he had not tasted bread or wine in 30 years. He was a creature of singular focus, a mind sustained by sheer cold will. He felt only the anchor. Hidden beneath the floorboards of his sanctuary, encased in reed and warded by sigils that would sear the mind of any lesser mage, lest the heart of friend star. It pulsed with a rhythmic violet light, a thrumming heartbeat he no longer possessed. To the living death is final, iron wall. To Valerius, it had been a heavy door to simply refuse to latch behind him. He had spent 80 years of immortal mastering the ebb and flow of ether, the fundamental energy of existence, only to realize that the human soul is a leaking vessel. No matter how much power one powered in, time eventually cracked the glass. Inefficient, he whispered. His voice sounded like dry leaves skittering across grave, a sound produced by magical vibration rather than the movement of air through lungs. He stood, his heavy, fur-lined lobes dragging against the stone. He did not need the warmth of the fur, but he found that the living were less prone to immediate hysterics in he maintained the silhouette of a man. As he moved toward the scrying pool, his movements were fluid, devoid of the tremor that had plagued his final year of breathing. The pool was a basin of quicksilver that reflected not his whole face, but the ley lines of the kingdom below his mountain spire. Below his mountain spire, they were flying. To his arcane sight, the world was a tapestry of gold and blue threads, but large thrusts were turning sickly, necrotic necrotic grey, the natural order the eye critics preached about was nothing more than a slow, entropic decay they were too cowardly to arrest. They called its transcendence an abomination, yet they let their kings loot and their libraries burn in the name of the divine cycle. Valerius reached out his skeletal finger, hovering over the silver surface, a spark of necromantic energy, green and sharp as an emerald needle, ripped from his dignity. He was not a monster because he hated life. He was a Lich because he loved knowledge too much to let it vanish into the dirt. Every time a scholar died, a library was lost. Every time a master smith passed without an apprentice, a technique vanished. He would be the vault. He would be the one who remembered when everyone else had forgotten how to breathe. Chapter 2. The Harvest of Echoes. The iron doors of the sanctum did not merely open, they shrank. The sound was a protest of lasted hinges that had not tasted oil since the last century, echoing through the vaulted ceiling like the cry of a dying bird. To Valerius, the sound was minor atmospheric disturbance, a ripple in the silence he had curated for decades. To the intruders, however, it was sound of the world ending. Valerius did not turn. He remained perched upon his obsidian dais, his fingers slender ivory needles of bone, weaving through the air. Between his palms, a lattice of silver light pulsed. This was a slow net, a metaphysical construct designed to catch the echoes of the recently departed. It was currently focused on a point 300 miles to the south, where the great librarian of Arcaven had breathed his last in a plague-ridden hovel. Stop abomination. Stop abomination. The voice was high-pitched, vibrating with the kind of terror that men often mistake for courage. Valerius paused. He did not drop the spell. To do so would be to let the librarian's knowledge of lost astrolabe dissolve into the ether. But he allowed a fraction of his consciousness to drift toward the entrance. Three of them, a girl in the white and gold circlet of solar order, came more glowing with a pale, sickly, holy light behind her. A scout whose heart was beating so fast it sounded like a frantic drum against Valerius. Valerius' aching senses and preset clutching a silver sunny dusk. "I am busy, child," Valerius said. His voice was not voice at all, but the vibration of the air itself, dry and toneless as wind through a whole log. "The librarian is crossing the veil. If I do not catch the threads of his memory now, the location of the Codex Garen will be lost to your spaces for eternity. I'm achieving, you are trespassing. You trap so in games for your own darker power," the girl cried. Stepping forward, the light from her blade beat into the shadow of the room, casting long, distorted flicker against the shelf of jars containing preserved eye and ancient scrolls. Valerius finally turned his head. It was a slow, deliberate movement. He lowered his silk hood, revealing a scar bleached to the color of old piano keys. In the darker caverns of his eye sockets, 2 pink pricks of blue fire burned, not with malice, but with a wary, ancient intelligence. Power. Valerius felt a phantom sensation of amusement, a ghost of feeling he hadn't truly experienced in a century. I have forgotten more spells than your order has ever recorded. I don't seek power. Power is a crude tool, a hammer for those who don't understand the chisel. I seek permanency. He stood his lobes of moth-eaten velvet, trailing like smoke. You celebrate the cycle of life and death. Little night, you sing hymns to the great return, but you forget that the cycle is meat grinder. Every generation you lose the best of yourself to the dirt. You will discover the same truth, fight the same wars, and die the same death. I am the grain that refused to be crushed. The priest stepped forward, raising his sunny disk. The soul belongs to the heavens. To deny it rests in the ultimate sin. The heavens are vacuum. Valerius counted, his tone sharpening. The soul is information. When your librarian dies, its knowledge doesn't go to better place. It simply ceases to be. It is a library burning down because the owner was too tired to hold the torch. With a flick of his wrist, the atmospheric pressure in the room shifted. The air grew heavy. The thick with the scent of ozone and ancient dust. The girl's sword felt as though it weighed 1,000 pounds, the tip sinking toward the stone floor. Valerius did not strike her. He did not need to waste her energy. No. Instead, he reached into the local ether and projected a vision directly into their minds. He showed them the universe as he saw it, a vast, dark ocean of entropy where individual lives were nothing more than tiny, fragile bubbles rising to the surface. One by one, they popped, pop, 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 vanishing into the cold blackness. He showed them the great library of Occult, crumbling its pages, turning to grey ash, and the name of their fathers being erased from the stars. I'm the bubble that turned to glass. Valerius started, his voice booming inside their skulls. I have stepped out of my frantic, screaming parade of mortality. Now, stand aside. I have a book to save, and your rightness. It is wasting the only thing you possess that I lack: time. The girl dropped to her knees. It wasn't a spell that broke her, but the sheer, freezing weight of his perspective. It was a realization that to the rich, the entire life, her training, her faith, her first love, her eventual death was a blink of an eye. A spark that would be dark before he even finished his current task. Valerius turned back to his silver net. The librarian's soul's echo was fading, but he managed to snag the final thread. A golden shimmer coalesced in the air, swirling into a small violet crystal on his workbench. There Valerius whispered, the blue fire in his eyes dimming as extension passed. The coordinates are saved. The codex survives another century. He looked back at the heroes who were still trembling on the floor of his sanctum. You may leave now, or stay, if you wish to be useful. I require someone with living fingers to turn the pages of the scrolls I am about to transcribe. Bone is remarkably poor at handling delicate vellum. The intruders did not stay. They fled into the mountain height, their boots clattering against the stone, leaving the Lich alone in silence. Valerius watched them go, feeling nothing, no spite, no triumph, only the quiet, heavy satisfaction of task completed. He reached for a quill, his skeletal hand moving with the precision of a clockwork machine. He had all the time in the world, and a world things yet to remember. As the violet glow of the phylactery dims, the legacy of Valerius remained untouched in the cold stone of his sanctuary. It stands as a chilling reminder that immortality is not a gift, but a heavy internal burden. A trade of worms for wisdom and prowess for permanency, while the world outside continues its frantic dance toward decay. The Lich remains a motionless sentinel guarding the fragments of a crumbling history. Death did not claim him, but in his defiance he became something the living can never truly grasp, a mind without an end. Thank you for watching.